shouldn't be. They're my biggest
This
fans.
is going to be a good one.
Wow. Okay. Ken. Tonight on Nebraska Nightly.
Lincoln police released the name of the officer who was stabbed during a chaotic confrontation at a bus depot.
Plus, Jim Pillen faces criticism from journalists after a statement he made about the Flatwater Free Press journalist.
And how Crime Stoppers is asking for your help in identifying a man who stole 11 hard drives from Best Buy.
And just breaking, 2 American hostages released in Israel. This is Nebraska Nightly.
Live from the Don and Lorena Meyer studio at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln College of Journalism and Mass Communications, this is Nebraska Nightly.
4 people were shot and hospitalized with non-life-threatening injuries after an incident in downtown Lincoln.
And at this time, the Lincoln Police Department believes there is no active threat to the public. This is our top story today. I'm Mackenzie Noble.
And I'm Elena Tomish. In the early morning hours today, officers were called to the area of 14th and O Streets after multiple reports of gunshots. Police were directed near the Cornhusker Hotel, and the only evidence was one of the victims and bullet holes in Walgreens and Sultan's Kite. The victim was taken to a hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, and LPD says the 3 other victims arrived at the hospital on their own, also with non-life-threatening injuries. Police are urging anyone with information about the shooting or any witnesses to call LPD at 402-411-6000. Or if you want to remain anonymous, call Lincoln Crime Stoppers.
Lincoln police have released the name of the officer who was stabbed during a chaotic confrontation at a bus depot on Tuesday, as well as the officer who shot the suspect. Officer Kirby Yearbank is now recovering at home after being stabbed in the neck Tuesday. Officers were called to the Lincoln Bus Depot at 52nd and Superior after Simon Kafka reportedly didn't have money to purchase a ticket and refused to get off the bus. LPD says Kafka eventually pulled out a knife in the back of the bus and stabbed Officer Yearbank. Police say the man then tried to reach for another officer's firearm. Officer Kate Schwenke then fired a single shot at Kafka. Kafka was released from the hospital on Wednesday and booked into the Lancaster County Jail.
Well, it's a warm day today in the capital city, and meteorologist Dominic Ferraro has a look into our Husker game day forecast tomorrow. Dominic?
We have a historic matchup here in Lincoln tomorrow as Northwestern comes into town to take on the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Let's take a look at your weather for the day. We're starting out at 8 a.m., 51 degrees, a little chillier, so if you're making your way out to the Big Ten tailgate show tomorrow, would recommend bringing a jacket. We'll warm up a little bit into the mid-60s into 11 a.m., and then at kickoff time, 2:30 p.m., mostly sunny skies with a high temperature of 68 degrees. Winds will be out of the north at 10 to 15 miles per hour, and we could see gusts up to 20. 5 p.m., 70 degrees. We'll get a little warmer throughout the game. So by this time, hopefully you've lost that jacket. But, you know, if that's something you need, feel free to keep a hold of it. As for my prediction for the game, I have Nebraska winning tomorrow 31-14. We'll have your current conditions and the week ahead after the break. Back to you at the desk.
Thank you, Dominic. Journalism organizations are reporting on a statement Nebraska Governor Jim Pillen made about a Flatwater Free Press journalist. Yangshi Shu wrote an article on the Pillen family farms and its environmental impact. When asked to comment on the article, Pillen said he did not read it and added, "The author is from communist China. What more do you need to know?" Shu was expecting a reply from the governor in hopes to get the full story. However, she was caught off guard when all he mentioned was where she was from in a negative connotation. Pillen responded today after reporters about his comments. He said today, "You know, you've heard my comments, and that's all I'm going to say." And when asked what those comments said about minorities in Nebraska, he said, "My comments were my comments." The Asian American Journalists Association Executive Director says Yangshi Shu deserved to do her job without fear of being dismissed and discredited solely because of her country of origin.
Well, there have been some sticky fingers at Best Buy as a man swipes 11 hard drives and tucks them under his shirt. LPD is asking for your help in identifying a man who walked off with hard drives on September 20th. Surveillance cameras were not able to catch the vehicle he left in. If you have any knowledge of the thief or know who this man is, send your anonymous tips online or call Lincoln Crime Stoppers at 402-475-3600.
It has been a year and a half since Russia invaded Ukraine. Located just south of the Caucasus region bordering Russia is the Republic of Georgia. Earlier this week, the College of Journalism and Mass Communication hosted visiting Georgian journalists. Nebraska Nightly's Lance Vi had the opportunity to speak to two of the journalists and learn about the impact the war has had on their work and the Georgian public.
How has the Ukraine-Russia war affected your work as a journalist in Georgia?
In Caucasus region, for example, in Azerbaijan, in Russia, they don't have freedom of expression and press, and Georgia is much more better situation than they are. Yeah. So, but how media change?
I think there is a very so big interest about ongoing process in Ukraine, about the war, because our society, Georgia society, thinks that that's our war too.
Yeah.
Because Russia is occupier, and 20% of our territory is occupied by Russia. And this war in Georgia is not stopped; it's continuing now. And people, every usual casual people and citizens think that we need strongly support to Ukraine, and many of us guys. They went in Ukraine as a volunteer, and they are here. And approximately 20 persons is died in Ukraine.
Many soldiers died from
many soldiers.
Georgian soldiers, yeah, also.
And people shows and express strongly that they want European ways to improve our country. And they have European choice, and it's so strongly emotions, because we are post-Soviet Union country, and some country has this problem because someone wants to close to Russia, and Russia propaganda works well in our country too.
We at Nebraska Nightly thank the journalists for their time and wish them safe travels back to Georgia.
Well, coming up after the break,
The war in Israel continues,
a judge threatens to hold Donald Trump in contempt.
and the U.S. House of Representatives is still on the lookout for a new speaker, all after the break.
The need for blood never stops. And at the Nebraska Community Blood Bank, your blood could help save lives. Right now, only 7% of the population donates blood. But imagine if there were more.
We're sitting at below a 7-day level of supply of all blood types across the board. So every blood type is important, and we need all donors of all types to come in and donate right now.
At the Nebraska Community Blood Bank, they believe that all types make a strong blood supply.
Welcome back. Well, the fall weather seems to be taking a break this weekend, and meteorologist Dominic Ferraro has more details. Dominic?
Well, there's anything but normal fall weather here in the capital city. Currently, we're sitting at mostly sunny conditions, 84 degrees for your temperature. We got winds out of the southwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour. However, that's going to change, cooling off tonight to mostly clear skies, winds 50 degrees for your low temperature, and winds will now be out of the west-northwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Looking ahead into tomorrow, mostly sunny skies, 70 degrees, and winds out of the north at 10 to 15 miles per hour, and we could see gusts up to 20. So what's causing that sharp decrease in temperature? Well, right now, pretty quiet across most of the country looking at your surface analysis. However, if we look up into the Dakotas region here, we see a cold front that's going to work its way across the central part of the country over the next 6 to 12 hours, bringing us that sharp decline in temperature this evening. Looking ahead to the rest of your week, Saturday, sunny, mostly sunny skies, 70 degrees. Sunday, we could see a chance of rain overnight with your high topping out in the upper 60s before returning back into the 80s on Monday. Mostly sunny skies, and then Tuesday will drop to partly cloudy, 72 degrees for your high there. And then Wednesday, we could see a chance for showers and thunderstorms, your high at 67 degrees. We'll end the week and Thursday and Friday with partly cloudy skies, 62 on Thursday, and a high of 56 on Friday. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, Dominic. As the war intensifies between Israeli forces and Hamas, President Joe Biden delivered prime-time remarks Thursday, pledging support for Israel and Ukraine and trying to convince Americans why millions of dollars in aid to both countries is crucial. We need to warn you, some of the images and subject matter in this next story on the war in the Middle East are extremely graphic and may be hard to hear or see. Cole Higgins reports on the president's message.
President Joe Biden addressing the nation from the Oval Office for just the second time in his presidency.
American alliances are what keep us, America, safe. American values are what make us a partner that other nations want to work with. To put all that at risk, if we walk away from Ukraine, if we turn our backs on Israel, it's just not worth it.
Biden's appeal to Americans to support two allies in their two wars coming one day after his trip to Israel. As airstrikes on Gaza continue in the Israel-Hamas war, desperate scenes like this one outside of a hospital where mourners praying over the body bags of victims play out across Gaza. The United Nations warning of increasingly dire conditions in Gaza as access to water and food is limited.
We have been here for 2 days trying to get water and there is no gas. For the sake of God, have mercy on us.
Perhaps an ounce of hope as a convoy of trucks full of food, water, and gas wait in Egypt at the Rafah border crossing, prepared to enter Gaza and deliver critical aid as soon as allowed.
And of course, if Rafah Gate is open to allow humanitarian aid to go in, we will be trying to get out the American citizens who are in Gaza who want to leave.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowing to allow aid to enter Gaza via Egypt, but not through his own country until Hamas releases all hostages.
We cannot give up on peace. We cannot give up on a two-state solution. Israel and Palestinians equally deserve to live in safety, dignity, and peace.
I'm Cole Higgins reporting.
Plus, just this afternoon, 2 American hostages who were kidnapped during the initial attack against Israel 2 weeks ago have now been released. The 3 countries involved in getting Judith Tai Renan and her 17-year-old daughter released were the U.S., Israel, and Qatar. We're expecting more information to be coming out soon.
And Kenneth Cheeseborough has decided to plead guilty in Fulton County, Georgia's 2020 election submersion case. He's one of the 18 people alongside former President Donald Trump charged in the case. As part of the deal, the Trump-aligned attorney agreed to testify at any future trials in the Georgia case. In return, 7 charges against him were reduced to a single charge of conspiracy to commit filing false documents. Cheeseborough is accused of helping develop a plot to send fake GOP electors to Washington. The hope was Vice President Mike Pence would use them to justify delaying Congress from certifying Joe Biden's victory, or even throw it out entirely. Cheeseborough's plea deal comes just a day after fellow defendant Sidney Paulo agreed to her own plea deal on Thursday. Prosecutors are recommending 5 years of probation and a $5,000 fine for Cheeseborough. He also has to write an apology letter to the citizens of Georgia.
The U.S. House of Representatives remains in limbo with no speaker. The Republicans are now figuring out what their next step will be. After Jim Jordan lost a 3rd vote this morning, he dropped out of the race after growing pressure from his colleagues.
I'm not advising Congressman Jordan, okay, but I know I want to go home. I want to go home and see my family. I've got a business I got to check into, and most importantly, I've got a granddaughter who's going to be 5 years old. That's pretty important. So I'm not advising him.
The House remains effectively frozen as long as there is no elected speaker, a perilous situation as Congress faces an impending government funding deadline and the threat of a shutdown.
Well, coming up after the break,
Nebraska football is set to face Northwestern in a game that marks a milestone for Memorial Stadium.
Plus, Nebraska volleyball looks to take care of business before their biggest test of the season.
Well, Nebraska football is fresh off a bye week, and Nathan Hawkins has more on how they'll be honoring their history tomorrow. Nathan?
Thanks, Mackenzie. 100 years ago, the Huskers played their first ever game at Memorial Stadium in front of 10 to 15,000 fans. Nebraska took down the Oklahoma Sooners 24-0. A lot has changed in a century. Memorial Stadium now seats more than 85,000 and 5 national championship banners hang from the walls. But tomorrow, Nebraska will look to pay homage to 100 years the same way they did in 1923, with a win. Nebraska will look to do so against Northwestern, just like the Huskers. Wildcats started the season 1-2, but now sit at 3-3. Head coach Matt Rule said Northwestern embodies the toughness and physicality that Nebraska is trying to create.
You need to play teams like Northwestern that are doing the same thing, because it's a barometer into your soul of, hey, how tough are we? How, like, obviously Illinois was a great test for us to see how we could bounce back from Michigan. This is a great test for us to see, hey, after a bye week, how much do we really want to play for each other? How much do we really love this game? How much do we love this team?
Well, let's look at the matchup. Both teams trying to push over that 500 mark. Nebraska leads the all-time series 8-6, and these teams are familiar with each other. They played every year since 2013. Tomorrow will mark the 11th meeting consecutively, and of course, it will mark 100 years at Memorial Stadium. The Huskers will have a jersey patch and a blue outline on their jersey numbers to commemorate the occasion. Well, Nebraska volleyball is all hands on deck for tomorrow night's heavyweight matchup, a battle of the number 1 and 2 team in the country as the Wisconsin Badgers come to town. But first, they had to take care of business Wednesday night in Evanston against Northwestern. First set, here's set point, and Andy Jackson slams the door shut. The Huskers take set 1, 25-15. Set 2 now, look at Bergen Riley, one-handed set alley-oops to Becca Alec, who slams it home. She had 9 kills, and the Huskers are rolling in this one. Third set now, Allie Batenhorst gets in on the action. Huskers win it in straight sets and improve to 18-0 on the season. Now all eyes are on tomorrow night, the battle of the top 2 teams in the nation. Both teams undefeated, 18-0, and get this, it's just the 42nd time in Division I history that the top 2 teams have played, and it's just the 10th time that both teams are unbeaten. Wisconsin has been Nebraska's kryptonite. The Huskers haven't taken down the Badgers since 2017. That year, also the last time Nebraska won a national championship. The biggest test of the season is tomorrow night at 7. Let's head over to Hittner Stadium now. Nebraska taking on Purdue. Husker soccer having a great season, largely because of this woman here, the 22-year-old Eleanor Dale, with goal number 22 on the season. She leads all of college soccer. Late in the second half now, Sadie Waite on the breakaway, and with the put away, Nebraska soccer wins it 2-0. They improve to 12-2-3 on the season. Their regular season finale is Sunday against Illinois.
Big weekend for sports in Nebraska, Nathan.
It's huge. I mean, you have Nebraska football chance to go over 500, and obviously this heavyweight clash between Nebraska volleyball and Wisconsin. That's number 1 and 2 team in the nation.
That would be amazing if we could win that. That would be something
It's all I've been thinking about all week is this game. It's going to be insane.
I mean, it's you can't really understate how big this matchup is. I've seen tickets. Hopefully you have tickets already, because if you don't, they're going for as cheap as about $170 online. So there's a lot to watch, and all eyes will be on the Vandy Center tomorrow night.
Here's hoping, right? Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Nathan. Well, coming up after the break,
a Halloween pet costume contest.
The Team Nebraska monster trucks are coming to town.
And all the details on the National Toy Hall of Fame, all after the break.
Don't let it happen to other Big Ten schools. Go to saveourdinos.org to learn more.
3, 2, 1.
This is
Nebraska Nightly.
If you're a student at UNL and have ever been interested in reporting or video production, Nebraska Nightly is your place.
Big boss!
Here you can build creative skills no matter how much experience you have.
Our equipment is very, very high level here, and it's something that a lot of times a lot of people wouldn't get to access until they're kind of in a professional workspace.
Talk to a UNL advisor about joining Nebraska Nightly.
Welcome back. It's a big weekend here in Lincoln, and Priscilla Castaneda is here with all the details. Priscilla?
Need a boost? Come to the Xbox One Rocket League tournament at Anderson Hall on the university campus. This tournament is a free event and starts this evening at 6 p.m. Winners will receive an intramural sports t-shirt. Get gains at the Strongman Prep Session. This class starts tomorrow and runs until December 3rd. Classes are at noon to 1 p.m. at the Cook Pavilion on campus. Registration is $30. Sign up at the UNL Rec site. Bring your paw friends to the Goodwill's Halloween Pet Costume Contest at the Gateway Mall tomorrow at 2:15. You can sign up right outside of Victoria's Secret before the event between 1:30 to 2. All the pets need to be on a leash at all times. Enter the mall with your pets through the northwest entrance by Lens Crafters. Monster trucks are coming back to the big city. See Team Nebraska Challenge Iowa for this show. And Clash of the Titans is happening with famous outlaw battling young gun shark attack. Also, there will be a chance to win a ride on a real monster truck. All of it begins on Lancaster Event Center at 1 p.m. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Priscilla. Are you nostalgic about a favorite toy from your childhood? Because you can vote for one of the next finalists into the National Toy Hall of Fame. 4 inductees will be chosen by a special board, but 1 will be chosen by the public. That one will be from a list of 5 multi-time finalists who have failed to make the cut in previous years. They include the Fisher-Price Corn Popper, My Little Pony, Pez, Pogo Sticks, and Transformers. The final inductees will be revealed on Friday, November 10th. Are Pez even really considered a toy when it's a candy?
I mean, I feel like you can get the best of both worlds. My favorites were always the SpongeBob ones. I'm a big SpongeBob fan.
Oh, I love the Disney Princess ones for me, yeah. Awesome. Well, let's hear from meteorologist Dominic Ferraro for one last look at this weekend's weather. Dominic?
All right, here's your next 3 days ahead. Starting out your weekend on Saturday. Mostly sunny skies, 70 degrees for your high temperature. Then we move into Sunday night, a high of 67 degrees, and overnight we could see a chance for a shower or 2 late. Now Monday, to start your week off, a high of 82 degrees, mostly sunny skies. And hopefully after that, we start to see some normal fall weather. I know certainly it doesn't look like it, but I promise we're almost there, and it's just about time to take those shorts and trade them in for sweatpants.
I don't know, it's Nebraska. Anything could happen, right? It could be snowing next week. I don't know.
Wouldn't rule it out. Here, fall lasts like 2 weeks, and before we know it, it'll be 30 degrees and like a foot of snow on the ground. So,
awesome. Thanks, Dominic.
Well, Nebraska Nightly is a production of the University of Nebraska's College of Journalism and Mass Communications.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again on Tuesday at 4:30 on Nebraska Nightly.